Thank you all for coming. Welcome to the History Show. So, today we celebrate here in the United States. We celebrate like well over 100 years of maintaining a peaceful border between the United States and Canada. But it wasn't always that way, was it? And that's kind of what you guys are talking about. So, what were some of the issues in these so-called U.S.-Canadian border wars?
Well, the issue that I mainly dealt with, as I am Daniel Webster.
Oh, you're Daniel Webster. I thought it was the
The issue I mainly dealt with was the border around Maine, the eastern border between Canada and the United States. Basically, the treaties for these had been signed a long time ago, and there were conflicting maps, and the wording really wasn't clear, so nobody was exactly sure where the border was. And there were a few conflicts over Americans. Americans wanted the whole, they wanted it to be as far as possible, and the British also wanted the border to be as far as possible, so there were obviously many conflicts.
It must be between like lumberjacks and stuff, right? Lumberjack wars. Vicious. They use axes up there. Anyways.
So basically all these issues were resolved by the Webster-Ashburton Treaty, where 7/12 of the land in dispute went to the United States and the rest went to Britain. And we came to this agreement because basically nobody wanted to go to war. War with Britain would have been unnecessary, no one would have profited from it, there was nothing to be gained. And so that's why we made a compromise.
So it's kind of like a win-win situation. We were happy with it, with the arrangements, and Britain was happy with it. They didn't want to go to war with us. We didn't want to go to war with them. Both nations are growing at tremendous rates. And everybody's making a ton of money, so no point in wasting our resources on war at this time. Okay? So that was the Webster-Ashburton Treaty, so thank you, Mr. Webster, for negotiating that. Now, further west, we also have, there's a big deal with Britain over the Oregon territory boundary, and that's what your colleagues are going to talk about. And they are almost ready. Oh, there you are. Okay. So what's going on now in, we're almost at war. We went, sliver territory north of the modern day state of Washington. So what happened with that? Oh, there's the Webster-Ashburton Treaty. Nice job. All right, let's move west. Let's move west, though, because I know you guys have some good stories. There's this boundary dispute, 5440 or fight. Now, did you have a map that shows where 5440 was?
Yeah.
Okay, could you explain that for us?
Yeah. Well, what happened was the Oregon, like missionaries caused like a lot of people to occupy Oregon, which caused Britain and the U.S. to like decide like what was going to happen with Oregon if they were going to reoccupy and annex it. And then the Democratic Party, they decided to, they wanted to like annex it and stuff, which actually led to which caused Holt to win his presidency. And he didn't favor annexing Oregon, but he was, because he was pro-slavery, and this would just cause like more free states to the Union. And he also felt that Oregon wasn't suited for agriculture. But regardless of the slogan 50-40 or fight, he made a compromise with British, causing the 50-40, which goes from the north, from Oregon all the way until the Alaska.
So yeah, basically the northern border then of, again, was Washington State today, would be all the way up to Alaska. So that's a considerable chunk of land that Polk gives over to the British. Of course, the British, they wanted their border set at Mexico, which is the northern border of California today. So that disputed area basically became the United States. What did the British hold out for? Like what was I think first and foremost, what did they want when they were negotiating the final boundary line?
I think they wanted like the island thing where.
With that whole harbor right there.
Yeah, the whole harbor.
Of Puget Sound, so, and that's, I see, that's where the initial, the final border then, point to that. No, that's 54, yeah, that's the final border. So that goes right through Puget Sound, so that way the British could use it as a harbor, and we could use it as a harbor.
And even though James Polk made a huge deal during his campaign about strongly going for 5440, when the time came down to it, he agreed to the 49th parallel.
And a lot of people in the North thought that that was, because he was like, it wasn't suitable for slavery, so he wasn't going to expand the power of the North, and people were mad about that. But really, what was Polk kind of looking at this time? Why was Polk, why was he so eager to give in to the British on this? I think he was looking at California, and he was looking at Texas, I think was his main concern. And within a matter of months, then we will be provoking war with Mexico to, you know, basically steal California. I think that was what Polk wanted, okay? But anyway, so he negotiates the line, it goes through Puget Sound, and then that line, where is, I mean, obviously there's no line on the water, and there's a bunch of little islands through there. What were some problems that caused? Because there were a lot of problems between the British to the north and the Americans to the south, do you know? Like, where's some famous problems that arose from that line?
The Pig War.
The Pig War, what's that about?
There was the San Juan Island, and both the British and the American military sort of never really made a definite agreement as to how that was split. And the British believe they have more claim to it, yet a lot of Americans still settle down in that area. And there was one man who was an American, and he ended up shooting a pig that crossed into his yard, and he was, I think, eating from his garden or something like that.
Well, yeah, you can't have pigs eating, British pigs eating from your garden.
And when he did that, it completely sparked a completely unnecessary outrage. And the British threatened to have all the Americans that had settled down, they threatened to evict them. And in response to that, the Americans sent a delegation to ask for American military to support them. And everything just kept building, and the Americans brought more forces, and the British brought more forces in response, and it just kept building up.
How did it end?
Once the word got back to Washington that there was this huge tension between the British and the Americans over a pig, officials from both nations were completely bewildered as to why it was even going on. So they sent over American General Scott, and once he got there, he sort of was able to calm everybody down and make them realize how petty it was to be fighting over a pig.
And then they all had roast pig and were happy. Okay. Interesting. So almost went to war over a pig with Britain. Interesting stuff. All right. Anything else then on this U.S.-Canadian border dispute of Pacific Northwest? About sums it up. All right. Well, thank you all very much. Thanks,